The day after Vancouver would lose a really rough game in the playoffs, like last night, I used to go to work and I would tell people, hey, it's all right. If you want, you can jump on the bandwagon for Boston. It's okay. It's a light bandwagon. Most people don't like us. So if you don't want to tell anybody, that's fine. But I'm okay. We welcome you to our bandwagon. And you would be surprised the amount of curse words that came back in my direction when I would suggest that to people. I was offering that as a suggestion, and I would get cursed at for it. It's bizarre. So then this morning, the morning after the ugliness from last night, I'll touch on the ugliness from last night too. Because, yeah, I mean, there's a lot there to discuss, right? So we have two games today. In the Western Hub, we have Dallas, Colorado. Game 2, of course, Dallas won. Game 1. And so this is an absolute must-win for Colorado. And Dallas has really got their swagger. I'm bewildered because the Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin that we saw in Game 1 and the Alex Radulov we saw in Game 1, I'm not sure where those guys have been this season. Dallas was doing it through their depth, through their defense, and through their goaltending. That's how they got the record that they had at the time of the pause. So if the top players are really engaged, this could be a really fun series for Dallas fans. That being said, Colorado's a very dangerous team. I do not expect this to be over in 5. I would think that this is still going to be a longer series. I'm hoping for a Game 7 at some point in these playoffs. Yeah, that has to happen, right? There has to be a Game 7. So, all right. No Grubauer, of course, for Colorado. Francouz is in that instead. Remember, Francouz had a shutout during the round robin. He is capable. He's a good goaltender. So I would expect much the same from Francouz. Of course, his teammates have come out and said they believe in him. Well, of course they do. You're not going to find a teammate ever that says, yeah, this loser in net, we're going to die. This is just, does he even have a number on his jersey? We're just done. Doesn't happen. I'm even wearing the perfect jersey to say that with. So that starts at 9:45 Eastern, 6:45 Pacific, so a little earlier than yesterday, and also a little earlier than yesterday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. We will get the Islanders in Philadelphia starting their series. So they get a little more of a rest, and they get punished for it by getting 2 back-to-backs if this series goes 7. For the Islanders, just keep doing what you're doing. For the Flyers, keep doing what you're doing, and then we'll go to a triple overtime, scoreless game with like 15 shots each. It could be one of those series where it's really truly a chess match. And for people who love that kind of thing, like when I watch a baseball game, I love pitching matchups. So if a pitching matchup happens and a game is 1-0 after 8 innings, I'm riveted. Whereas if it's 11-9 and there's 12 home runs, I'm bored. I'm like, oh, this is still going. What inning are they in still? So I'm very much one that I can understand if you enjoy that really tight defensive chess match. This is going to be the series for you, I think. If it opens up, I do think it favors Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia overall is a little bit better than the Islanders, but it's not by much. Coaching, I give the edge to the Islanders in that with Barry Trotz, but again, it's not by much. Vigneault is capable of taking teams to the finals as well. So yeah, this should be a fun one. It's going to be close according to the voting on the channel, which is very close. Philadelphia is a very narrow favorite, whereas in the other series, Colorado was a tremendous favorite, Vegas was a favorite, and Boston a favorite as well. So we're going to see how that holds up. And coming back around to Boston, Daniel Vladar yesterday signed a 3-year extension, $750,000 cap hit. The first 2 years are a two-way deal, so he gets paid a different wage in the AHL than he does in the NHL. And the third year, it's a one-way deal, meaning if he's in the AHL, he's still guaranteed a $750,000 US. I honestly, it's a harmless, no thinking kind of way of doing it. Like this is an automatic. You need to have 3 goaltenders in your system. He's seen as the number 3 guy. And then the ceiling for Vladar is the question mark. That's where I have questions about whether or not Vladar is going to be an NHL level goaltender, and how he'll work out at that level. But again, with goaltenders, we just don't know. So good move by Don Sweeney. And we'll see if Vladar takes the net at all in that series. Blake Spears signs a 1-year extension with the Arizona Coyotes. He, of course, part of the Taylor Hall deal. And again, they didn't reveal financial terms. You've got to think it's probably $900,000, $925,000. So for Arizona, that might be one of those things where they say, well, if Taylor Hall walks away, we'll see what this Blake Spears kid can do. He's 23 years of age, and yeah, we'll see. Played, I think, 3 games for New Jersey last year, so probably about as ready as he's going to get. But in John Chayka's defense on that as well, usually the guys who get thrown in are the guys that you don't think much of when he'd acquire. They become key guys later. Lawson Krause comes to mind in that area. So we'll see if that's another case of that. Tampa Bay, looking at tomorrow's game, Ryan McDonough is uncertain for Game 2. If he's out with an injury, that is a massive blow to Tampa Bay's blue line. We'll see. He didn't finish last night's game. We'll see whether or not he plays Game 2. And they're already reporting Vasilevsky likely starts both games in the back-to-back. That was the weirdest thing last night, was Houston talking about, hey, they got back-to-backs coming up. We'll probably see McElhinney and we'll probably see Vladar. And I'm thinking, no, we won't. These are playoff games. It's not regular season. There's no way Halak's going to be on the bench and Vladar's going to be in net for Boston in any of these games. That's just, no. That's just, no. Unless the team is up 3-0. If Boston were up 3-0, maybe. But you're not going to see. I would be shocked if McElhinney or Vladar end up in the net for any reason other than one team's getting destroyed and they get put in late like Demko did last night for Vancouver, or there's an injury. Other than that, I cannot see Halak or Vasilevsky getting a rest. That's just not going to happen. This is why whoever wins this Stanley Cup, hats off for me, because, wow, that is quite the accomplishment in this really rough tournament, in this really pressure-filled environment without the fans in attendance. The pressure, I think, is being put on the players themselves, by the players themselves, and just, I think whoever wins this cup, there may be an asterisk for some, but not to me. Whoever wins this tournament is legit. The reason I'm wearing the Carolina jersey, update on Andrei Svechnikov, high ankle sprain for Svechnikov. So he is likely going to be fine for next season. Remember, next season is either late November, early December. They're aiming for December 1st. But if they can get the Stanley Cup awarded earlier, they can push up the start of next season earlier. The European leagues are already playing. The most professional sports in North America are playing as well. The NHL needs to figure out the safest way to make it happen as possible and make sure that they're playing hockey in the winter. Because, again, the idea of, well, we'll just shut it down. If you're the only league not playing, that definitely hurts your standing. And, the CFL is the one league that had to shut down, but that was obviously a unique circumstance. And sadly, they just didn't get the funding they needed to keep it going. So Svechnikov will be back for whenever next season starts. Put it that way. That's the plan. High ankle sprain, though, I mean, when you see a guy going off the ice and can't put any weight on his foot, it's bad. Robin Leonard. So Leonard was asked about the whole thing with Alan Walsh. It's not the first time. They even showed a graphic last night of every time Alan Walsh has stuck his foot in his mouth trying to defend one of his clients. And honestly, it's a bad look. And then the other problem is a lot of the guys that he's stuck up for end up getting traded. So whether they're traded because of the players or a team just saying, we don't want to deal with this agent. And it reminds me of Brian Burke when he was general manager in Vancouver, and he would not pull punches when it came to certain agents he hated talking to. So it definitely made it to where it was harder for the Canucks to keep certain players because their agent was just a dick. And so Brian Burke kind of was like, I guess I'd like to keep the player, but man, the agent. And so I hate to see that happen. But Leonard is saying, you know what, Marc-Andre Fleury and I are close. We had a good laugh about the tweet. We don't really care. And I have no reason to disbelieve Robin Leonard. Leonard's been through a lot of teams. He's been through a lot, and he's been cast off by a lot of teams. And I think, honestly, he just wants to get paid what he feels he's worth. And if that's not what other general managers think he's worth, whether it's in Chicago, whether it's in New York with the Islanders, that's fine. But he has basically had the mind of, I want to get paid what I'm worth for the term that I think I should get. And whatever the reason is, other GMs have passed on him. I already see fans saying, oh, how many teams has he gone through? Well, it doesn't mean he's not a good goaltender. So, as a fan of Ron Tugnut, I tell you, that's not necessarily a sign of a bad goaltender. Ron went through a lot of teams. Great goaltender, went through a lot of teams. I do think Leonard's going to be the goaltender for Vegas next year. I also want to throw in here as well, I've seen people saying, if anything, Vancouver needs to play more of a physical game and show Vegas won't push him around. Yeah, no. Vancouver needs to play the game that made them successful. If you get pulled into playing another team's game instead of the one that made you successful, you lose. And I've watched Vancouver do that. I watched in 2009, 2010, both years, how Vancouver did that against Chicago. And this feels kind of like that. How Chicago would pull them into playing Chicago Blackhawk style hockey. And that's where I knew the series was over. Which also brings me to the point that, for anybody who's like, I'm surprised Shannon's able to, put together all these videos so soon after a loss. Well, I'm used to Vancouver losing. I don't necessarily like it, but I'm used to it. And you kind of get numb to it after a while. So for people in their late teens, early 20s, I'm sorry. From a person in their 40s, this is how it works being a Canucks fan when it comes to the postseason. And you just kind of go, yeah, all right. The only difference between now and before I had a channel is before I had a channel, I just would have turned the game off after the second period. Probably during the second period. When it was 3-0, I would have gone, all right, so I want to watch something else. And I would have watched something else. Because when I know that a team's getting absolutely destroyed, I go, nah, I think I'm done. And that, again, reminds me of Chicago in the late 2000s. But because I have a channel and there are people relying on me to do the review, I do the review as well as I can, and I take as many notes as I can as well. Now, NHL 21 has released its cover athlete. It's going to be Alexander Ovechkin. I'm old enough to remember. Didn't Ovechkin have it in 08 or 09? Anyways, it's been a while. And I don't know. It's always nice to see a new athlete get it. I mean, Ovechkin's great and all, but there's a lot of other young players they could have thrown on the cover. Again, it's fine. It's fine. It's not a big deal. But, I mean, a lot of us just get it digitally. I know I just get the digital version of the game now. I don't actually get a physical copy. So the cover really matters less than ever. Unless that splash screen at the start really upsets people. Go, that's Austin Matthews. I don't think that's the thing either. We just X past that right away. So, yeah. Ovechkin gets the cover. I don't think that's going to make him feel better about losing in the playoffs. But again, what would? So there you go. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below regarding any of these newsworthy articles. And let me know your winners for tonight's games. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.